Hello, 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 vinyl community. Midge here, guy in a hat who likes to talk about records. We're into October now. Outside, it's absolutely lashing it down. It's the tail end of the Storm Amy that the UK is having. Although I don't know who names these storms. I mean, Storm Amy, it's a bit, you want a storm to have a bit of gravitas, don't you? You want it to have a name like, I don't know, Storm Thunderfuck, something like that, or something more descriptive like Storm, your kid's trampoline is now 3 streets away and it's landed on a pensioner, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's horrible outside. But anyway, inside, I thought it was about time to talk about my R's again because we haven't done that for a while. And these go back a couple of months now. So tail end of August, mostly September. So, as with the other video, these are my recent repetitive rotations. These are albums that I've been listening to continually on my turntable. Lots of favourites, some new, some old, some recent acquisitions. There's also been a lot of new release albums out in September, some really good ones, but I'm saving that for a separate video, so we'll get onto those later. But in terms of today, the first recent repetitive rotation on my list is one that, in the record collector's terminology, is an absolute banger. And it's the 1970 album by the Insect Trust, and this is Hoboken Saturday Night. This is an album that's been mentioned to me many times over the years as one to seek out, and it's incredibly hard to find. I've never seen one in the UK. I've never seen one in the wild. I don't think it was ever issued on vinyl in the UK. I think it was mainly in the States, so it's probably widely available over there and cheap as chips. But like I say, I've never seen one over here. And I picked this one up. It's a music on vinyl reissue, and I got it really cheap. And I thought, well, yeah, since the price was right, I'll give it a blast. And this is absolutely superb. This is their second album from 1970. And the best way to describe it is it's sort of like a melting pot of music. I mean, if you like, I'm a big fan of Ronnie Lane. If you like Ronnie Lane's solo albums, with that sort of like rustic feel to him, like it's a mixture of country, folk, rock and roll, blues. And this is exactly what this album's like. It's absolutely superb. I've never heard such a melting pot of music before. Obviously, it's quite hippie-ish in tone. The band actually lived in one of these high-rise flats in Hoboken, New Jersey, and you can see some pictures of it on the back. That's the bar that apparently was at the bottom of it, and they're the pictures of the band members. So you've basically got Luke Faust on harmonica, banjo, and fiddle, Trevor Kohler on sax, soprano sax, flute, Robert Palmer, not that Robert Palmer, on alto sax. You've got Nancy Jeffries on vocals, and you've got Bill Barth on steel guitar. And basically, this album is a real mixture of styles. For example, it opens with a 30-second snippet of "Be a Hobo" by Moondog, the New York jazz musician who used to compose songs on the streets. The guy with the Viking helmet who made some really great albums. It's a cover of his "Be a Hobo." I presume it's because it mentions Hoboken in the lyrics. So that's a strange way to start it off. Then you've got Hoboken Saturday Night, which is sort of like an up-tempo rock number where they talk about their love of the city and getting together to jam. And this is basically where the whole theme of the album comes from. It is basically them all in their studio flats, getting together, playing songs, mixing together, and just, playing anything from country to folk to blues. I mean, it's all over the place, but everything's poured into the pot for them to play on. You've got The Eyes of a New York Woman, which is a really gorgeous ballad. You've got Ragtime Millionaire, which is like an old-fashioned New Orleans jazz type number. You've got Some Days, which is it's got like a really, I don't know who does there's a mixture of vocals. There's Nancy Jeffries who does most of the vocals, and one of the guys in the band does vocals, but his are more like, I don't know who it is that does them, but it's like a strangulator sound. It's quite a weird male vocal on here, and yeah, that's a great song. Some Days. It's got a really uplifting horn part to it. Then you've got Our Sister the Sun, which is the longest track on the album. It's about 7 minutes long, and it sort of starts off with a mixture of sort of like a funky bass line and cymbals, like a cymbal splash all the way through it, and it slowly builds. It's like a drone, and it slowly builds with Nancy's vocals, and it gets like all the horns come in, and they get progressively weirder and weirder as it goes along. It's a really astonishing song. It's really cool. Like I say, it stretches out over its 7 minute length, and it's by the end of it, it's almost like avant-garde jazz. It's really cool. And then you've got Trip on Me, which is like that's another one that's sung by Nancy Jeffries. It's like a feminist anthem type song from back in the 60s, saying, you know, treat women as equals and, you know, don't mess with women sort of thing. And it's really cool. And Nancy Jeffries' her vocals are really cool. It's like a folk type approach to her vocals, but she sounds a lot like Grace Slick at times. So there is a real sort of Jefferson Airplane type sound to this at times, which is really cool. Then you've got Glade's song, which is really cool. It starts with the son of one of the band members singing the lyrics, obviously as a really small child, and it's a song about kids playing together and, you know, the innocence of kids, and saying, "Come round to my house and play," and that's a really cool, sweet hippie type song. That's really cool. Then you've got Reincarnations, which is like more of a traditional type song, and that's sort of got like a mixture of banjo and steel guitar arrangement, and it finishes with an absolutely blistering track called Ducks, which is sort of like an instrumental, but it's a sort of song you'd expect to find on a Stax or Atlantic album in the late 60s. It's like it's really funky instrumental, which takes you back considering what the rest of the album sounds like. And that's what I mean by a melting pot. I mean, it's got a bit of everything in here, and it's got an absolutely amazing drum solo at the end by Bernard Purdie, who plays on the album, because the thing with this band is they didn't have a rhythm section, so, you know, they had no bassist, no drummer, but fortunately they were signed to Atco, and so basically they had the cream of, when they came into the studio, the cream of musicians to play with. So you've got people like Hugh McCracken on guitar, you've got Bernard Purdie on drums, you've also got Elvin Jones who drums on a few tracks. So they had the cream of the rhythm sections at Atlantic. So, you know, the fact that they didn't have a rhythm section didn't really matter to them. But yeah, absolutely love this album. I've been playing it non-stop. If you're looking for something a little bit different, a little bit Jefferson Airplane inspired, it's a real melting pot of folk, country, blues, bluegrass, funk. It's amazing. It's an amazing sort of melting pot album. This was the Insect Truck's second album. I don't think they made another album after this, and it's sort of become a cult classic, and you can see why. I mean, I've been absolutely loving this. And like I said, this is a music on vinyl version, and it's on clear vinyl, crystal clear vinyl, which is nice, and the reproduction of the Atco label. But yeah, I got this cheap, but it's worth paying the full price for it. It's an absolutely superb album. So that's probably my pick of the last couple of months. This album, it's been absolutely superb. So it's well worth checking out. So that's the Insect Trust and Hoboken Saturday Night. Next is an album from 2023. I've been playing quite a bit recently. I've only just managed to get a copy of this. It's by a band that I really like, an American band called the Allars. I think this is their fifth album. And when it originally came out, it was quite pricey. I think it only was released over here as an import. So I've sort of dithered about it and then thought, oh, I'll leave it for now. And I finally managed to track a copy down at a reasonable price. And so I picked it up, and it's the Allars, and it's Zuma 85. Great cover artwork, and like I say, I like this band. I've got quite a few of their albums, and this is one of their more sort of. This is the latest one they've made, but it's more experimental than the other ones, and it's got sort of like a great sort of drowsy sound to it. It's quite experimental. It's quite lo-fi in places. It gets a bit psyche at times. It gets a bit proggy. There's lots of like summery, catchy riffs to it. And it sort of reminds me a bit of the Flaming Lips early albums. There's some of the songs are quite, goofy and, quite gimmicky. There's a song called Jelly on it, which is really catchy. Sort of really catchy, dumb song, but really infectious. And it's got a great lyric in it. Have you seen how jellyfish swim? They look so hypnoticious. And I don't know if that's a word, but it's a great word if it is, hypnoticious. And great lyric, really catchy little song. And there's another great song on here called The Stuff. That's got a great lyric in it. Radio plays all the same songs, and the DJ's a computer. And the refrain in the song is the old world's better than this. And it's sort of like a comparison between modern times and old times. And yeah, that's sort of like the theme of the album, really. It's sort of like, it's got elements of classic rock. It's got elements of modern day indie. And there's some repetitive Velvet Underground type guitar stuff on here. All the band members sing and they swap vocals on the tracks all the time. And it's just a great little album. Like I say, really sort of like a dreamy, drowsy sound to the vocals, but it's really catchy. A few instrumentals on here, but if you've never tried the Allars before, they're a great band. I really enjoy their albums, but like I say, it's taken me a while to pick up on this one. But yeah, I'm really glad I picked up a copy of it. But that's the band there. But yeah, great band, well worth checking out. I think this is just on it's on your standard black vinyl, but yeah. Great album, well worth checking out. Allars Zoomer 85. And the next one, this is an older album from 1970. Someone who I got into about 5 years ago and absolutely love his stuff, and I still don't think he's as appreciated as he should be. And this is Richie Havens and his album Stonehenge. Great cover there. I think it's on his own Stormy Forest label. But yeah, Richie Havens, absolutely superb artist. I don't think he gets as much credit as he should do. He's got an absolutely brilliantly sort of cracked and smoky vocal, but it's got so much soul and so much, sort of emotion in it. And the thing about Richie Havens is he does great covers as well. There's always a few covers on his albums. On this one, he's got a version of Dylan's It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. He's got a cover of I Started a Joke, which I've mentioned before is one of my all-time favourite songs. And it's just, the thing with Richie Havens is he's one of those artists who can sort of make covers songs sound like his own. It's just his approach to arranging and his approach to the acoustic guitar. He plays acoustic guitar really strangely. He sort of plays with his thumb. It's got a really sort of distinctive rhythm to his playing. And like I say, with that cracked, husky, smoky vocal, and it's just an amazing artist, really underappreciated, I think. And he's a great songwriter as well. Some of the songs on here, it's obviously from the 70s, and he was seen as quite a hippie-ish type artist. So there's lots of songs about love and sort of getting together and appreciating people and, just all the hippie values. You could sort of describe it as hippie folk in a way. And there's some absolutely storming songs on here. The Minstrel from Galt has got a really great sort of string arrangement to it, and just beautiful little songs with good lyrics. It's like Prayer's another great song that he's written on here. That the lyrics to that are great, and it's a really sort of moving, sort of mournful type spiritual song. And also you've got Ring Around the Moon. It Could Be the First Day, which again is another beautiful sort of ballad, absolutely superb. Open Our Eyes, which starts off the album. That's another great sort of spiritual type hymn song. And it finishes with an 8-minute track, which is really cool, called Shouldn't All the World Be Dancing? And it's sort of like an extended soundscape. And it's sort of like, it starts off with it's like an extended sound collage. It's sort of like, it starts off with like acoustic guitars and organ, which goes through all the track, and it's got a real psychedelic edge, and there's loads of sort of like vocals in it, not sung vocals, but mainly sort of offering different opinions on the world and how things should be. And Richie adds his own vocals in, saying, you know, shouldn't we all get along? Shouldn't we all, you know, worry about people starving and things like that? But it goes on for about 8 minutes. It's a really sort of like a psychedelic type jam, but it's a really cool way of finishing the album. But like I said, I've been picking up Richie Havens albums over the last few years, and I've been really enjoying them. Absolutely superb. I don't think I've picked up a bad one yet. And Stonehenge, obviously, on the cover, and there is a copy of this album displayed in the Stonehenge Visitor Centre, because I went a couple of years ago and really enjoyed it. And yeah, there's a copy of this framed, as well as, I think it's 10 years after I'd Stonehenge album as well, didn't they? And there's probably some sort of Spinal Tap tribute there as well. But I definitely remember this album being there. So I'm absolutely loving this album. Any Richie Havens albums I've picked up so far have been brilliant. So if you haven't investigated him before, then please check him out. He's absolutely superb. Loving this. So that's Richie Havens' Stonehenge from 1970. Okay, next up are 2 rock albums that I've picked up. And the first one, I don't know anything about this band really, other than that in the 80s they became massive AOR band with loads of hits and stuff. But I saw this obviously in a second-hand shop, and it was really cheap, so I thought, well, I'll give it a blast. I've been really enjoying it, to be honest with you. And it's the debut album by the band REO Speedwagon. I think this is from 1971. Yeah, 71. And yeah, I've been really enjoying it, to be honest with you. I don't really know anything about the band. Like I say, this is their debut self-titled album, and obviously it's not AOR. It's really cool, actually. It's full-on sort of balls-out rock. It's really cool. And it was quite a surprise, to be honest. I wasn't really expecting that. But yeah, been really enjoying it. Classic rock. But yeah, with a bit of a bite to it as well. The guitarist, Gary Richrath, this guy here, his guitar work is absolutely blistering, solos and riffs and stuff like that. And apparently this is the only album they made with the vocalist Terry Luttrell, the guy with the big moustache. And yeah, he's got some great vocals on there too. And I'm really enjoying this, actually. Some really good, cool numbers on here. 157 Riverside Avenue, which is a really catchy track. You've got Anti-Establishment Man, which is cool as well. Talking about things like not believing politicians and wasting money on wars in Vietnam and things like that. So a lot of cultural references from the time there. Lay Me Down, which is your classic. You can sort of imagine that song in your head, can't you? It's just like your classic 70s rock track. Sophisticated Lady was cool. There's a track called 5 Men Were Killed Today on here, which is sort of like a psychedelic ballad. It's got a really sort of cool, gentle sort of melody to it. And it's about, you know, the horrors of war and the fact that so many men don't return from war, and, you know, families are destroyed and things. But it's sort of like, it's done as a psychedelic ballad, and it's really cool, to be honest. You've got the track Prison Women, which is a bit strange because it says that the chorus goes something like, don't mess, the object of the stories don't mess with the prison women, but they will definitely satisfy you. I mean, well, which one is it? Because you're not sort of making a case there either way, are you? Saying do mess with them and then don't mess with them. But I've seen Prisoner Cell Block H, and you don't mess with the prison women in that drama, I'm telling you that, so I know exactly where they're coming from. But yeah, it ends with a 10-minute sort of rocking track called Dead at Last, which is like where the band's spread out, and there's it's just cool, killer riffs, killer solos, great drum solo as well. So yeah, this was a bit of a surprise. I've been really enjoying this, and it's cheap as chips, so you can, it's not an expensive record. And I was trying to work out what REO actually stands for, and the closest I could get is rectal examination over, which is what every person wants to hear when they're having one. But I'm not convinced. Don't take that as fact. I'm not sure if that is the case. But yeah, I'd recommend that. First album from REO Speedwagon from 1971. This is a reissue on the Epic label. Cheap as chips. And one more thing about this album is there's a track on here called Gypsy Woman's Passion. Of course there is, because it's the 70s, and every single 70s album has a track about a gypsy woman on it. I think it was the law back then. But my question is, if gypsy women were that plentiful in the 70s that everybody wrote songs about them, where are they now? I've never ever met a gypsy woman, ever. I mean, where have they all gone? Are they extinct? Should David Attenborough have done a documentary about them? Should we be concerned? I mean, I've never met one, so where are they all? That's just one of the strange music questions of our time. Where have all the gypsy women gone? Someone will probably write a song with that title now, but no one writes songs about gypsy women anymore, so what's the story there, eh? And the next one is by a rock and roll legend, I suppose you could say, and it's Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan, and I remember when I was a teenager, years and years ago, well, I'm not that old, but it was quite a long time ago, but a friend of mine said, "Oh, you're a huge Zeppelin fan. Have you tried any of Robert Plant's solo albums?" And I said, "No, I haven't." So he lent me, I think it was from this one to is it Manic Nirvana? All his 80s albums. And I remember playing them and thinking, this is absolute shit. And giving them back to him and saying, I don't like this, it's horrible, it's nothing like Zeppelin, this. And never touched them since. But I did get into Robert Plant's solo albums. I think it was the early 90s when he started doing his sort of like his folk and country world infused type albums. I think it was Mighty Rearranger that I picked up on, and I really enjoyed that. And I've picked up every Robert Plant album since then. And he's even got a new one out this month, which I haven't picked up yet, but I probably will at some point. But yeah, his 80s albums, no way. But I saw this cheap, and I thought, oh, do you know what? I'll give it another listen. You know, 'cause sometimes your taste changes over time. And I've been quite enjoying this, to be honest with you. This is his first solo album after Led Zeppelin disbanded with the death of John Bonham. So this is 2 years after that, 82. And it must have been quite a hard time for Robert Plant anyway, you know, Bonzo being his childhood friend. And you're probably thinking, I've been in one of the biggest bands in the world, where do I go from here? So it can't have been a particularly easy time for him. But this is not as bad as I remember listening to it, or the other albums that followed it, which I think were a bit more quirky, a bit more 80s type. This has got elements of 80s production in, like these big drum sounds, there's more synthesizers, only subtle though on this occasion. And there's even a drum machine on one of the tracks, which is probably unheard of for Robert at one point. But yeah, I've been really enjoying this, and obviously got a new band. Phil Collins plays drums on most of the tracks on here, and you know, Phil Collins is a decent drummer, to be fair, and he really he doesn't try to copy Bonham, but you know, there is a big drum sound on it, and he plays, you know, the drumming on here is great. Obviously, Robert Plant had to take on a new writing partner after Jimmy Page, and Robbie Blunt stepped into the void, which again must have been very, very nerve-wracking. And again, he doesn't try to copy Page. It's not a Led Zeppelin tribute album, or it doesn't try very hard to be a Led Zeppelin album. There is a definite sort of sense of wanting to do something a bit different. So there's some good riffs on here. Robbie Blunt seems a great guitarist. I think he used to be in the band Bronco, I think, but he's played with loads of people since. He's a bit of a session guitarist. But yeah, there's 80s elements to it, but it's not drowned in it. And there's some great slow-burning ballads which really suit Robert Plant's voice. There's the, what was it called? Fat Lip is really great, sort of slow-burning type song. The ballads on here are really good. There's one called Slow Dancer, which is quite an extended track, and that's really good as well. There's a great song on here called Worse Than Detroit, which has got like a really sort of like a jumpy type guitar signature riff on it. And yeah, I think it's slow dance. I mean, Robertson, he doesn't try to sing. He's not the full throated, singing of Robert Plant of yore. It's more like it's more subdued on this album. I think there's only one track, and I think it is Slow Dancer, where he sort of does his full, his full bellowing, full throated Led Zeppelin type rock god type voice. But for the most part, it's quite subdued. But and there's a few of the world elements that he would come later on. There's a Moonlight in Samosa, which has got sort of like a Latin guitar feel on it. But yeah, I've been quite impressed by this, to be honest with you. I'm not saying it's an amazing album, but it's not as bad as I remember. I think it's the last album that he made on Led Zeppelin's Swan Song label, so really cool label. Yeah, so bit of classic rock there. So yeah, I've been really enjoying it. So it's it's a very different Robert Plant to the one he is now. I think he is more sort of comfortable doing what he's doing now. Yeah, quite 80s artwork. I'm not really sure what's going on there. And that choice of leather gilet and sort of suit trousers is, that's a terrible mistake. That no wonder it's going up in flames. But yeah, decent. Quite enjoyed that. So the next album is an album that's made me break my own rules on record collecting. Now, one of my rules is, and I've always had this rule, never buy the same album twice. Don't have duplicates of certain albums, because you're wasting your money. Because in my eyes, you could be buying another record that you never heard of. You could be checking out another artist. You're wasting money because it could be spent trying to discover something new. Now, there are caveats to that, because, like, obviously, I have albums that I want to upgrade to a better condition, better sleeves, blah, blah, blah. There's also, repackages, extra tracks, blah, blah, blah. But it's getting more and more difficult these days, I think, to resist that, because record companies bring albums out with different artwork, different coloured vinyl. But it's always seemed to me like, don't have 5 copies of the same album, because it's not, what's the point? I don't get it. But more and more often now, I find it harder not to break this rule. And this is a good example of one of the times I've broken this rule. Now, I'm hoping you'll agree with me, though, that it was right to do this, but this is one of my all-time favourite albums. I've had it since I was a teenager. I've loved it. I've never got tired of it. I think it's one of the all-time classic rock albums, and I think it's an exercise in how to do a classic rock album. Now, this is Thin Lizzy's Jailbreak. And like I say, it's on one of, I wouldn't say, was it my top 10 favourite albums all time? Because I don't really have a top 10 albums of all time. I don't have a top 20, I don't have a top 30. For me, I think I need to have a top 500 albums of all time. And I couldn't go on Desert Island Disc, because I'd need to be travelling on a ship with like 500 albums in a freight container to be washed ashore with me, because I couldn't just narrow it down to like 10 or 5. I mean, how do you even do that as a music lover? I've never been able to do that. But this would definitely be on the Desert Island movie, one of the 500 odd. But I love this album. Like I say, it's classic rock at its best, I think. Absolutely love this album. It's got great packaging for a start, with a die-cut sleeve. It's got the comic artist Jim Fitzpatrick's incredible sci-fi artwork. And it's just an absolute blast of an album from start to finish. You've got the classic Lizzy lineup. You've got Phil on bass, Scott Gorham on lead guitar. You've got Brian Robertson on another lead guitar, and Brian Downey on drums. I mean, that twin guitar lead guitar format is just, it's never been better in my opinion. And every track on here is an absolute gem. There's not one bad song on it. It's one of those albums, it's got 9 tracks on it, and every one is a killer. It's just, you know, the classic Jailbreak with its often piss-taken lyrics of tonight is going to be a jailbreak somewhere in the town. Well, it's probably going to be at the jail, but, you know, don't quibble. It's Phil writing these songs. Have some respect. And you've got Angel from the Coast with its great sort of like funky riff that runs through it. You've got the gorgeous ballad Running Back, Romeo and the Lonely Girl, Warriors, the classic rock staple of radio, The Boys Are Back in Town, Fight or Fall, which is one of the most absolutely gorgeous ballads ever written. And it's got an absolutely beautiful guitar solo as well on it. One of my all-time favourite rock ballads. And Phil Lynott is one of those sort of like rock musicians. It's like, you know, the bad boy of rock. He had his hard side, but the only other musician I can think of who's in the sort of similar realm is Jimi Hendrix, in terms of they could actually write ballads from the heart. It wasn't just a case of, we're a rock band, we need to throw a couple of ballads in on every album to sort of like satisfy, you know, the female entourage of our fan base. And it's sort of like, and that's not disrespectful, I just mean, a lot of rock bands just throw ballads into their albums, you know, just to give it a slight diversion between all the heavy rock stuff. But Jimi Hendrix and Phil Lynott could write ballads that were from the heart, really meaningful, really heart on sleeve. And yeah, there's two on here, Running Back and Fight or Fall, absolutely gorgeous ballads. And he really had a poetic side to him, just like Jimi Hendrix. He could write really beautiful, heart impassioned lyrics, and, you know, a lot of meaning and soul in them. And I don't think many musicians in this sort of idiom can do that. You've got Cowboy Song, which is one of my all-time favourite songs. It's what air guitars were constructed out of air for. Two great blistering solos in that song, and just an absolute killer classic rock song. And it finishes with the classic Emerald. I mean, I love this album. It's just superb. It's, you know, this is your template for a classic rock album of the 70s. This is a copy I've had since I was a teenager on the old Spaceship Vertigo label. But obviously somebody had to come along and make a really nice version of it that I couldn't resist. And it was, you've heard of Vinyl Me Please. They do sort of like, it was a subscription service for vinyl lovers. And they do sort of like, you know, classic editions of classic rock, soul, funk and hip hop albums you could subscribe to. I'm not sure if it's still going or whether it fell apart, but they did do some really nice vinyl versions of this, and this was one of them. And I was thinking to myself, don't buy the same album twice, Midge. It's a waste of time. But then when I saw this, it's just so beautifully done. I had to get it. So there you go, Midge, you big hypocrite. But tell me, would you turn this down? I mean, this is their version of it. I mean, look at that sleeve for a start. Silver foil sleeve. It's still got the die cut, that sort of reflective type sleeve. Oh, it's just, look at that. It's just, and it's a Vinyl Me Please essential. It is an essential in my eyes. You've got, for the first time, the gatefold sleeve has the lyrics to the songs. So that's pretty cool as well. You also get a black and white print of Jim Fitzpatrick's artwork, which is really cool, on nice card stock. Oh, that's really nice, isn't it? Also, you get a booklet with liner notes and a bit of an essay about the album itself. And yeah, oh, it's just amazing. I think that's a work of beauty. So the booklet slides in to make the front cover. I mean, I couldn't resist that. I mean, I'm getting weak in my old age. I just couldn't resist it. And it's pressed on the Spaceship label again, but it's on beautiful orange vinyl, and I couldn't resist it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but you know, one of my all-time favourite albums. I mean, I couldn't turn that down. It's just, So I've got 2 copies of the same album. Shame on me. Shame, but I don't care. I don't care. Look at that. Just a work of beauty. So yeah, just Thin Lizzy, Jailbreak. Awesome album. One of the all-time classics. Yeah, broke my own rules there. Yeah. So the last of my repetitive rotations is an album that I picked up during the last weeks of August. When I was on holiday, in fact. I was laid on a sunbed, sipping a beer. Those were the days. And I was looking through Amazon, and sometimes, as you know, on Amazon, they do clear outs and special offers where they get rid of albums that they probably got a lot of stock of at really cheap prices. So this looked really cheap. And I've never heard of the artist before, but the cover sort of made me think this could be interesting. So I had a quick blast of it on Spotify, and I thought, yeah, I like that. So I ordered a copy, and I thought, it's dirt cheap, so if I don't like it, it doesn't really matter. But I ended up loving it and playing it a lot. And it's an artist called, a terrible name, Man. Yeah, I know. But look at this cover. I mean, it's surreal, and I thought this is probably going to be worth a listen. It's on the Sub Pop label, so I expected it to be a bit sort of like angsty and rocky and stuff, but it's not at all. The album is called Carrot on Strings, and it's just great. It's sort of like it's indie pop. It's quite Dayglow sounding, as the cover would suggest. It's got loads of hooks in it. The songs are really catchy. It's quite groovy at times, quite soulful, very poppy, has some orchestral pop type moments on it. And it's the work of like a one-man band. It's sort of, I think the guy's name is Ryan Katner. And apparently this is his 7th album, but I've never heard of them before. And like I say, this is the first album that I just tried on a whim because it was cheap. But it's really cool, and it's one of those albums that really grows on you. It's full of melody. The songs have really catchy refrains to them, such as these are some really surreal ones like Blood Dungeon, Cryptode, Tastes Like Metal, which has the repeated chorus of I'm not afraid to pay to see you naked. And it's just like one of those sort of quirky indie pop type albums. And weirdly at times, Ryan Katner's vocals sound very much like Alex Turner of the Arctic Monkeys. But obviously this is a world away from it, but it's spookily like it at times. But it's just really catchy. There's elements of psych there too. There's a great track on here called Odyssey, which finishes the album. And it's sort of like... it sort of goes along, and then halfway through it descends into like a Spaceman 3 type one chord guitar vibe that keeps repeating like a drone, and it just gradually builds and builds and builds. It's like an 8-minute song, but it's like a really sort of neo-psych type song. Absolutely superb. But there's loads of great tracks in here. Pack Your Bags, Cherry Cowboy, Mongolian Spot. I mean, every song on here I ended up really liking. And for an album that was really cheap, I'm not sure if it still is cheap. It's probably worth checking, but I've really enjoyed it. So it pays to take a chance every now and again on an artist that you're not really familiar with. But I've been absolutely loving this over the summer. I really recommend you check it out. It's really sort of like quirky pop, indie pop type things. It comes with an insert. I presume this is Ryan. So instead of trout mask replica, you've got iguana mask replica on this occasion. And you get all the lyrics and things like that. So it's a one-man band basically backed up by, musician friends and stuff. And like I say, it's got quite a psyche vibe, but there's elements of soul and funk and another sort of melting pot of catchy stuff. You also get a stencil with it for if you want to spray paint man all over your town centre. And this was, I thought this would be a standard edition, but it's one of Sub Pop's loser editions. I'm never sure why they call them loser editions. I don't know if this implying that people who want first pressings of things are total losers, and these are the ones that go out and buy them on the first day. I've never really got that reference, but yeah, this is a first pressing. It's on a really nice orange type vinyl. The artwork in it's really cool as well. And it's yeah, it's got a bit of everything. It's like a melting pot of catchy, summery type indie pop. And I've really been enjoying it. So I'm not, like I say, I'm not sure if it's still cheap, but it's worth checking out. And it's yeah, Man, Carrot on Strings, and this was originally released in 2024, so this came out last year. But I'll definitely be looking out for other albums by them. But I've really been enjoying this, so that's really cool. So yeah, that's all my recent repetitive rotations over the last couple of months. I'm hoping, I've got quite a backlog of vinyl because I keep buying records, and I've told myself to stop buying records, but it's not as easy as that, is it, when you're a record collector? And like I say, I think there's been loads of great albums out over September as well, new releases, which I'll hopefully do a video on. That's what the next video will be. So stay tuned, and I hope you like or check out some of these recommendations. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Catch you later.